like recent stuff which is also using those ideas. But I mean that there are many possibilities. But I don't think I ever heard about this.
Maybe I get something to drink.
Yeah. Sorry. So anyway, so we have a special guests. I've had many guests here this quarter, and I would like to add one to the list. Professor Machiko Kusahara from Kobe State University in Tokyo.
It's not in Tokyo, in Kobe.
Sorry, in Japan. I should concentrate, Okay. So anyway, and Machiko has been working actually on many different roles on the field of media culture for quite a long time. So one of the amazing things she did a long time ago, fairly long time ago, was an anthology. She put together an anthology of 17, how many? Yeah. 17 laserdiscs, kind of basically
including Rebecca's work.
Complete history of computer graphics, computer animation art. Yeah. So I don't think it has been done anywhere else. She's also actually produced a lot of writings which deal with issues around media, different forms of media art, different aspects of media culture, both in Japan and also in the Western context. She's also curated exhibitions, worked in many juries, including the this year's Webby Awards jury in San Francisco. And she's also a specialist on a very interesting field, which is sort of like finding connections between, let's say, Japanese popular digital culture and forms of art. Also, she's been doing interesting work about looking at the connections between the Japanese way of doing these things and the Western ways of doing things, always building bridges. And today Machiko will talk about a very up-to-date issue, which are the Japanese sort of like intelligent or pseudo-intelligent digital pets and digital robots, which have become incredibly popular in the past few years. So without anything, so please help me welcome Machiko Kusahara.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Yes.
So, have anyone of you seen this? I just found it at the airport when I took a flight from Narita to come here. So this is a special issue exactly on this issue. So maybe later you'll find, and you can find the basic statistics and kind of stories behind, which can be very useful. So this year, just a month ago, 2 months ago, I was in Helsinki to attend the symposium that Erkki organized as a part of the exhibition he curated, the Alien Intelligence. And just before leaving for Helsinki, in Tokyo, I was participating in a symposium named Robotism, for which I was a part of the organizers. And so it was another interesting coincidence that such exhibition dealing with a kind of similar theme took place at almost the same time in Tokyo and also in Helsinki. The similarity and also the differences. So I will start talking about that. This is a catalog from our exhibition, Robotism, and it was the first exhibition of this kind sponsored by the Minister of Culture in Japan. The Minister of Culture is notorious of supporting traditional art, but not media art. So we are trying to change. So finally we got the first exhibition, and it is about robots. So let me see my memo here. Okay. So I'll start about why I came to be interested in this topic. So in addition to what Erkki explained about my background. A part of my background is in the history of science. So naturally, I'm interested in, say, looking through the phenomena and see what is the background, why such development of such piece of technology or such invention took place in connection to to each society, each culture, and the way the technological development took the path in a different direction in Western culture. Of course, there are many different cultures in the West, and also in Asian cultures, including Japanese and other Asian cultures. So that was one thing that, which brought me to deal with this topic. And another reason is, so I was also interested in biology. I entered my university as a biology student, and then I changed my subject. So the way people deal with the idea, the notion of life or animals or human being is also something which has been always interesting to me. And now, of course, it's related to the virtual pets and robots. And another thing is that part of my background is also in Japanese art. I used to paint in Japanese, or rather Asian traditional way. And there are many things which is quite different from the Western discipline in paintings. So with all this and my, background as a curator and as a writer, as a researcher in computer graphics and multimedia since '83, it's already a very long time. So this is one of the issues I have been dealing about. And one thing that I'm thinking about during this issue is now when we think about computer graphics or the virtual reality and so on, it is a stage that we can have very realistic images, or also the idea of cyberspace somewhere, over there. And as you can see from the film Matrix, now this is a time that the people can really kind of have the imagination what is happening there in virtual reality on the cyberspace or whatever. And then what is more important now is, well, rather than the technical aspect of such technology, which will continue developing, but rather the psychological or cultural aspect of the notion of reality. And when it comes to the notion of reality, including the notion of reality toward life, or toward notion of life, there's certainly some difference between what you see here and what you see in Japan. But now it's such a society with the internet and all those virtual games and everything. So, I mean, what is invented in Japan would be sort of imported, transported to the States or other part of the world immediately almost. And there's a possibility of kind of cultural confusion, that you get something which did not develop according to your cultural background, which was developed, which was conceived from a different cultural context, but then you just get it like that. And in Japan, in Japanese history, it already happened twice when Japan opened its border to other countries after the more than 200 years of enclosure. Then it was about 150 years ago that all the kind of Western culture rushed Japan, and there was a big confusion. And also after the World War II, the Second World War, so there's such a case that the American culture sort of flooded Japan, and all kind of things changed. So based on such history, I'm very curious what would happen now with this technology that realize such virtual reality or telecommunication technology, which basically developed in the States, and the way it is used in Japan according to our way of seeing the world and our way of seeing life. So this is kind of background. And let's see. Yeah, and so what I'm curious about these virtual pets and robots are the sort of what I call subjective reality that Japanese culture has developed. Now, so today I will talk about what is the situation in Japan regarding virtual pets and robots and games and also virtual characters and also agents and avatars on internet, which are interrelated. And so what we have now in Japan, and what is the history behind, very briefly, and why these things came from Japan. And so what will happen then very soon? So what we have now, so this is very famous now, eyeball. And unfortunately, I didn't bring my eyeball. I have one, but because I don't have time, so it's my young niece and nephew who are taking care of my robot dog. So I asked them to write something like a diary, how the eyeball has been growing, because they started with a puppy. Last week, so it started, in a way, so they gave birth to this robot puppy. And so far, it still can't walk or run around. It takes some time for a puppy to be able to walk.
I'm wondering if everyone knows Aibo and what
Yes.
it is.
Why don't you tell briefly the background of Aibo? Because I don't think anybody here has an Aibo.
How much does it cost, man?
$2,500? Yeah,
$500.
$2,500, yes. But the first lot of Aibo was sold last year, and it went out immediately. So people could order it through internet, and in the first 1 minute, both in Japan and in the US, everything was sold out. So the second lot was sort of distributed early this year, from March to April. And this time, so Sony decided that they get the order and they produce the numbers according to the order. So everyone who ordered would get the iPod. So that's the way I got it finally.
So can you
Yes.
simply tell?
What it is.
What is iPod?
Yeah, so this is a robot, and they don't say dog, but this is what they call entertainment robot or pet robot, and it's of this size, metal, and designed by Motoi Sorayama, who is known for who did the robot illustrations. And if you know the sexy robot that Bob Abel did, how many years ago? Something more than 10 years ago. It was him, the same illustrator, who did the design for that. So this robot can walk, and I will show you the videotape later. And I said it can communicate with human beings. It doesn't speak, but the sort of interface is, it reacts according to the pitch of the sound. And so it grows its behavior, it changes its behavior according to the way it is raised. So if you take care of it very well, then it can become a very active dog, very curious. But if you don't communicate with the dog enough, then let's say it can be a rather boring, or say nasty, not maybe nasty, but dog. But maybe I'd like to talk about that later when I show the videotape. Maybe it's easier. So what I was talking about, well, so yeah, maybe then I will change the order and I'll show you the videotape. Maybe that's easier. So
humans and robots to live together and build a new future. Bravely take your first step into the robotic age.
I'm not giving a very serious lecture, so you can enjoy the video.
私たち人類は長い間ロボットを夢に描いてきました。鉄腕アトムや鉄人28
Sorry,
号
it is in Japanese, but
私たちは今全く未知の大海原へ出発しようとしているのです。
I'm home, he's saying. That's a cat robot, famous character from the animation. So that's his grandma who lives in a countryside. And I would say it's very now difficult to find such a house. Very traditional. So the old, say, woman from the farmhouse. So this is a demo tape from a robot manufacturer that I just got from this exhibition I was participating. So Shinichi, this boy, he is communicating with his grandma. Are you doing well? I'm doing well, grandma. So it's your birthday. I didn't forget. I'm really happy that you remembered it. So my father is planning that our family will visit you to your countryside during the summer vacation, summer holidays. That's what he's saying. But because I can't see you today, so I want to make a birthday present by telemassaging you. So this is a robot with this telepresence feature. So the boy is now using this whatever, and then the robot will massage her. And I don't know. No one knows why this robot in this farmhouse. But anyway. I really feel like you are here, Shinichi. So that's what she's saying. So now he's talking there, but telling her the story of what happened in the school today. But you are sweating, grandma, so here's the towel for you. But look at the body of that robot. This is a kind of Snow White type robot. So of course there's this webcam with the robot, so the boy can see the landscape outside through the robot eye.
大丈夫だよ、しんいち。あの川はね、鯉や船がたくさん釣れるんだよ。
Oh, they are just talking about the rivers, a small stream there that maybe if, when he comes, he can do some fishing.
はいはい、おばあちゃん、楽しみに待ってるからね。
I'll be waiting, looking forward to seeing you here. So that's what she says. So this is
全く新しい発想のロボットテムザック4がここに誕生しました。
So this is one of the robots that we have now in Japan for kind of say family use.
私たち人間のアシストツールとしてのロボット。 テムザクはそこを目指しました。
Is this massaging robot already available for purchase? Can you buy this from a shop if you want? So this is a serious product, isn't it?
This is a serious product, but it's rather expensive for just for
話が
massaging.
できるような感覚
But I talked to the manufacturer, so they want to sort of use it as leasing.
操作は
They
離
are
れたと
serious.
ころから PHS を使って行われますから
So
危険な
it
作業
can
でも
be
遠
let's
隔
say
操作が行います。
using
テムザ
PHS
ク
via
の
mobile
用途
phone.
は無限です。
Leonardo da Vinci, Christopher Columbus, the Wright brothers, Thomas Edison. These men all bravely strode into the future. They endeavored to build a better world for all of us. And now, we, Temzak, are rising to the challenge of our forefathers. The first step. Temzak 4 possesses infinite possibilities. Temzak 4.
Do you know how much that would be?
I don't remember. I think it was very expensive. So anyway, this is one of the funniest robots that I have ever seen. Okay. Where do I stop it? Okay. Yeah. I can stop and rewind. I can't see it. Okay.
This does work.
So, is it running now?
No.
Okay, I'll show you some other video tapes, maybe so it'll be easier for you to get the idea on what we have. Let's see. Oh, where do I change it? Oh, sorry. What did I? Oh.
Now we have to wait. It has to go through its cool off thing. And then it's
Okay. So now, can I have the image from the?
we have to wait.
Your
Now,
computer-
'cause you turned it
so-
off. We have to wait for it
I
to cool
see.
off, then we can turn it back on.
Oh,
2-3
sorry.
minutes.
Oh, really? That robot? Yeah. I don't remember really.
So does it, basically, it can actually move around
Yes.
and.
Yeah,
and
also, yes.
The arms.
Yeah.
Test 10,000?
No, I can check, but I don't really remember. Yeah. Because it's really kind of, they don't think they can just sell robots like that. So it's almost like prototype. It just came out. So I don't think that they had the kind of price range marked. And basically they are thinking of, say, being to sort of promoting it as I said, by leasing, not selling.
And is it, do I understand it's all remotely controlled by
Yes.
someone else then?
Yes.
It doesn't have its own intelligence, it's just
That's right. So
imitating
this is
the
a
movements.
different type of robots from the major trends of robots in Japan, which are the autonomous behavior, like Aibo. But it's sorry, but it was almost like a joke piece to me.
We want one.
Maybe. But now, so I'll show you some images of the pet robots. Because there are now many. Oh. Huh. I can't open the images. Let's see. Here, this works. So this is another type of pet robots which just came out. There was a toy show in Japan recently, and these are from Bandai, very inexpensive robots that can be used for the browser for internet.
How do you use them?
It can be connected to internet, I think. I think that's what they said. And you see the faces here, and it can represent some different, say, emotions. And let's see if I can. Oh, maybe I don't know. So after the success of Sony's Aibo, there are a kind of rush of pet robots in animal forms. And this is one from Bandai, which is much cheaper, just 10% of the price of Aibo, really. 1/10 of. And this is a dog face type robot that also reacts to. Pardon?
How much is it?
So,
$250.
yeah, something like that.
What about the functions of these other robots? So are they, in terms of their performance, compared with Aibo? So which I understand that Aibo is actually sort of like
Yeah.
it's quite developed. So I mean, are these as developed as Aibo?
No, they're much simpler. And also, Aibo has much more autonomous way and also, say, growing its own behavior, as I said, according to the way it is raised. But in other robots, it's kind of, say, input-output type of reaction sort of robots. So maybe it's all, okay, so I'll continue with the video tape. Maybe it's easier then. Sorry that, let's see.
What we find is that Aibo hasn't really been known that well in the U.S. market, even though they sold out, but it's not kind of in the whole popular area. So a lot of people don't know about
you'll
it.
See. What? Yes, maybe. previous. There's another is eyeball. Maybe with a lower volume where I can continue explaining about eyeball. Yeah, so if you could lower the volume, then I would be. Okay, so I think you got the basic, idea about how it works.
Entertainment robot.
And so
Aibo,
this is, as I said, of this size.
Color,
and
gray
designed
silver.
in such a way.
CPU,
and the
64-bit
basic
processor.
policy about the concept
Internal memory,
about this
16 megabyte.
robot dog is
Program memory, 8 megabyte memory
so
stick. Here
they
next.
designed it in such a way that it looks like robot, but when it has a very kind of when it starts moving, then it looks lovely, but it should look like robots. So it doesn't have any fur. It's metal, designed like robot. But then because the action, the animation gives the idea that it's really like an animal or like a dog, and also because it is, so it grows according to the way one raises. So people have a kind of attached feeling to the robots. So that's the idea. And the other day there was meeting of the users of the first generation Aibo dog robots. And I couldn't attend the meeting because I was in Helsinki at that time, but then later I heard what happened there. So for the first lot of Aibo, I talked with the Sony people. They said that there are 3 kinds of users who purchase these robots. Maybe 1/3 of them are those who like robots or anything new, novelties. The second type of the users are those who are, the computer people, basically. But the third group belongs to those people, the generation, whatever, who had never used anything like robots, or maybe who never used computers even. They wanted to have this robot dog because they wanted to have a pet. And one thing that maybe you might not be aware of is in Japan, so many people, maybe something like more than 30% of the Japanese population live in big cities. And in big cities, in most of the flats, apartments, you are not allowed to have any pet. But people want to have pet. So this is, for them, virtually the only solution. And another thing is there are now in Japan many people, old people, who live alone by themselves. And well, here in the West, I think it's kind of normal situation, and there are ways that the people get together with people. They have their own community, maybe. But in Japan, in the historical background, it was not like that. So people get very lonely, feel alone. And so they want to have something as a partner. And also, there's a need now to find some way to, kind of monitor those people, old people living alone in their household. For example, Zojush, the kind of top manufacturer of, pot, electric pot for keeping hot water for tea. They developed a system, the internet-connected pot, and in collaboration with some doctors, which means that in Japan, in old people, they usually drink some tea in the morning, and they use a pot. So if the pot, detects that it is not used for more than 1 day, it means that there's something wrong. So it will connect automatically to the doctor, so that someone will come and see what is happening there. Well, so there's such a need already. Yes? Yes. If you put your hand on its forehead, it means that patting the forehead of the dog, it means that you're caressing the dog. So it will be happy.
When you move its legs or ears or tail, or when he feels that he's touching the ground, he reacts with his legs, or it's just all random, just to show
It has the autonomous behavior. So it has the autonomous behavior. you see autonomous.
Yeah, so it isn't always based on an interaction or from someone else.
It's not necessary. So it has its own mood.
Because I see when they're turning on his back, all of a sudden his legs are basically opening or contracts his legs when he's being held. It looks like, at least in the video that we just had in the background, it looks like it's reacting to whatever it's touching. But you're saying that except for the head, nothing is reacting to that?
And there are two modes. The one is what is called performance mode. And in that mode, you can try, you can see what the dog can do. So you can see how it is programmed. For example, wagging like this. You can, according to the performance mode, and you have the remote controller for that. So if you type in certain numbers in that performance mode, you can see the kind of programmed actions of the dog. But usually, you keep the dog in the autonomous mode. And then, so it will walk around. And also, when you show the pink ball, then it will react to that, or it reacts to the sound. But the way it reacts to such input depends also on the way it is raised. So, if you see two different eyeball dogs raised by different ways, and they will react in a different manner to the same reaction, to the same input, for example. Yes?
Can you use the mic? How does it deal with sight, like visual input? Does it actually have a very sophisticated way of seeing things and reacting to them, or how does it?
It's not so sophisticated, but it has the camera, and it is programmed to react to certain things. That is, it reacts to a vivid color. So this pink ball, vivid and round color, is something that which is programmed to react. But it also detects, for example, steps, so that it wouldn't fall from the staircase.
Is that the distance sensors, or?
It reacts to the change of the color, for example. How to say?
Like
shadows, yes.
You would think there's a step if he's going onto a carpet? Or
Sorry.
It's light sensor. It's a light sensor.
If the color of the floor changes in such a way that which should change, be given as a staircase and the shadow, then it will stop, because that's the way it is programmed. So it has the camera, and it has the image processing feature, and the Sony people made a program in such a way that it would react to the kind of basic input, like vivid color, and also to prevent the accidents, like falling from the staircase.
So it's probably just looking for big changes like dark light or certain colors in a program specifically for some shapes like the sphere for the ball.
And
but,
also,
but it probably wouldn't walk, like if there was a dark carpet or something and it's walking along, it would probably get confused and
it can be confused, yeah. But also it tries to avoid, say, hitting something like human leg or whatever. So if there's a big change in the scene, in the sight, then it will stop.
Can you guess why they decided to go for the retro robot look and not, for instance, to use fur or a more organic look? In other words, they showed that video where everybody's touching and petting it, but you're touching a piece of metal and a kind of a Jetsons robot. Do you have an insight into why that decision was made? Because if you think of animatronics in Hollywood, this is something that's very much already in place, and you can reach a certain level of reality that, in other words, everybody's asking about actions, and the actions are very much based on a real dog. And yet the look is based on a 50s, 60s idea of what robots are, which is very retro.
Well, it's not necessary according to the 50s, 60s look, but it's a good question. But I had this argument with the people, the developers of this eyeball. And one thing is, so there are two types of actions. One type of is like dogs, but others like this wagging. with the actions that can never be achieved by real animals.
I understand.
Sorry, just can I
Yeah.
continue? And you talked about the animatronics in Hollywood. And the reason why those furred animals that you see from Hollywood film can be manipulated, can act so realistic is there are certain, their actions are already predefined. They only have to act in such a way which is designed, which is asked to do by the director, which is different in case of this robot, which should, react to any situation with different owners. And the basic reason why this eyeball looks like a robot, it's not with fur, is, according to the developers, at this stage, even if they try to use the best of the technology, it is still not enough to realize the real dog-like robots to behave as a real dog. There's still a limit. That's
But
why.
if you go with the actions going further than imitating the real dog, why wouldn't they consider going with the look of it? And in fact, they're promoting as if it's a tactile object that's wonderful to hold, and it's not. It's a cold metallic object, regardless of its actions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm wondering if it's simply because it's Sony and they're used to developing hardware, and it's easier to implement this kind of production, or in other words, it doesn't necessarily have to look realistically like a dog or show emotions realistically, because even as a metal, it can't really do it.
Well, one thing is a policy, I think, but also the basic idea is if it looks like a real dog, it's easy to make a kind of real dog-like robot with fur, but then the behavior, the action should be as real as it looks. Otherwise, it will look strange.
Actually, I'm not saying that it should look like a real dog. I'm just saying that I'm surprised they didn't use the tactility. It's something to be held, to be more comfortable, like a stuffed animal. You know what I mean? I'm talking about the material. So to remove yourself from the reality and just think of materiality. If you're talking about the materiality, the question is, why would it be a hard metal as opposed to a soft, gushy thing that you could touch and caress? Anyway, I won't push it anymore, but...
I have a suggestion. Also, could this thing that Rebecca, Victoria is talking about actually have something to do with the very special relationship that the Japanese have had towards robots, like all kinds of robots already from the 50s, that's the fact that it looks pretty much like a robot and that sort of like technological creature is a value in its value of its own in the Japanese context. So maybe this is some.
Yeah, it's also.
So maybe this could be one explanation. I'm just wondering.
Let me. Well, so it's a bit complicated, but maybe so. I can show you some images. I mean, which is a switch? Okay, so there are other robots as well, and let me see if this. There's also a furred cat robots, but well. Yeah, maybe I just missed to bring that one. But you see that there are really many robots now for the family use in Japan, and Aibo is not the only one. And there's certain kind of maybe, how say, tendency or say feature in Japanese robots, which is in common. So how would I say? So shall I continue about this? So shall I? Well,
just a quick
yes?
question about the fur on the robot. I think there's another company that's been working on a cat.
Yeah.
Omron. They've been making a
That's
robot
right,
called
that's Omron
Tama.
robot.
Yeah, and it comes with fur, so that might be something that's in consideration by Sony. I don't know.
Yeah, but what I really felt about this Omron's robot is because it has a fur.
Mhm.
People expect such figure to behave like real animals, and this how say not smooth action looks very strange.
Mhm.
I think that's why the Sony didn't want to do that, because they tried many different designs.
Okay.
And of course, it's true that it looks cold, but I mean, they wanted to make robots. They wanted to say have this eye will look like robots, and maybe as you said, that I think Japanese can't take it in such a way because robots. So I wanted to continue a little about this. Say the idea about robots in Japanese culture.
Just one quick question. Regarding the personality of the Aibo, after it gets to a certain point and it's become its own identity, is there no way to change it back to its original form? So you can reset it and
Yes,
bring it back?
it's possible.
It is possible, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so is there any question? Okay.
There's
Yes?
one question. Cameron has a question.
No, I was hoping that we can allow her to continue with the contract.
Oh, yes. Please.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so where was I? Okay, well, to continue a little bit about Aibo, so I mean, people really take it as a family member, and so at that meeting, there's kind of those funny stories like people say having clothes on Aibo, the same clothes as the owner has, and so on, and they brought Aibo in the basket, which is used for the real dogs. And quite a few people keep Aibo in the kennel in the house, in the real kennel. And some people claim, at least one owner of Aibo claimed that his Aibo, when it's going to sleep at night, it goes into the kennel automatically on its own wheel and turns around like the real dog will do, facing the how say exit of the kennel, and sit down and go to sleep. And some people say, no, it's impossible. We have never programmed the Aibo dog in such a way, but the owner insists that's the way it does. So some people really feel like that. Yes?
What about energy?
It's battery. I mean, just the kind of stand. Then you put the dog there, just sitting like this, and then it will be recharged. And when it goes out of energy, it gives a sign that it wants power. Okay, so. Okay, so Aibo is one thing, and I will continue with the videotape. Sorry that I have to go back and forth, so that you get the idea about. Am I already running out of time? Yeah, here. Sorry. How do I change the videotape? Yeah, maybe it's. Yeah, so can I show the rest of the videotape? And then I will come back to the computer and show the rest of the image. So this is from some scene from the robotism exhibition we had in Tokyo, and this is a piece by Takashi Murakami. who is an artist, well, internationally recognized artist in contemporary art. And this is from
魚の形をした
メイワ電機、
電動の縦
the performance
これもロ
group
ボットです。
is making sound performance using this
ヒレ
kind
の
of
裏側
robotic
についた
instrument
爪
that
で
they
胴体
invent.
の弦を自動的につまびいてくれます。
So this, how to say, the attitude toward robots and the way we use the robot is kind of already becoming the part of the contemporary art in Japan as well. This is what is called Shabu robot. So this father robot.
突然、ちゃぶ台をひっくり返すロボットは父
robot
親
family, and the
作者
father
自
can
身
be
の子供
kind
の
of
頃の思い出から誕生しました。
tyranny sort of thing. This is what you've seen already.
日本のロボット開発はロボットが単に人間の労働を肩代わりするだけでは
Yeah, sorry to. So what I wanted to talk today and show you is so the Japanese culture, Japanese attitude toward robot is also related to something in common with the way we deal with virtual characters and also agents and I say avatars on the net and some games. And here, this is seaman. Sorry that Bill is no longer here, but this is a virtual fish that you
ではまず
also
育
on
成
a
キッ
Sega
トと
Dreamcast.
呼ばれるパッケージの内容をご説明いたします。
And you
すべ
raise
ての
this
パッ
kind
ケ
of
ージの
virtual
中には
aquarium,
ディスク
virtual
の他
tank. But
に
so you
シ
raise
ーマイク
this
と呼ばれ
fish,
る
sort
マイ
of
ク
fish
と
from
コン
an
バー
egg.
ターがついてきます。
And this is a fish with
こ
human
の
face.
シーマイクはコン
And
ト
you
ロ
can
ーラ
talk
ー
to
に
it
接続
using
し、
microphone,
シーマ
and
ン
it
と
would react,
会
it
話
would
する
speak
際
back
に
to
使
you.
用します。
And now they are developing the English version of
限
it, so
定モデ
maybe
ルで
you
は
have it
さら
soon.
にスケルトンのビジュアルメモリーがついているものもあります。シーマンの育成環境はこのビジュアルメモリー保育器と呼ばれるケ
These are
ー
the
スが
eggs,
見え
and
ま
you
す。
raise it.
この中にあるのはフランスから空輸されたばかりの貴重な
Okay.
やがて卵が孵化する
So you have
とマッ
some
シュル
baby
ーマーと呼ばれる
fish
ひ弱な
and
幼
it grows.
虫になります。
And
ちょっと水槽のガラスを
yeah,
叩
fast forward a little.
か
Yeah, maybe this is fine. So as you see, this is a rather
私
weird
はこん
looking
な乱暴な
say
言葉は
character.
教えてはいません
And
の
the
で
way it answers, it communicates to you is very
それでは
weird.
次にシーマンの
And
育
for
成方
example,
法
in
に
English
ついてご
version,
説
so
明いた
if
し
you
ます。
ask who you
ま
are,
ずは
he should
餌
answer, what do you think am
最初
I?
についてくる
And
栄
you
養
can ask,
素
for
だけ
example,
で
a
は
monster,
とてもと
and
ても
it,
シーマンの
says,
食欲
talks
には
back
足
to
り
you
ません。
like, see the monster
お
in your
腹が
mind.
空くとシーマン
And
たちは
that kind of thing.
子孫を
And
残
it
そう
looked,
と
always
共
looks
食い
tired.
をすることも
It's,
ある
it's,
そうですから
it's always
何とか
unhappy.
しなくてはなりません。
And another interesting
そこ
thing
で登場
is,
する
I
餌
asked
が
who are the
これ
main users
シ
of
ーマ
this
ンの大好物
software. Girls,
キャ
young
タピラ
girls.
と呼ばれるガの幼虫です。
And this
これを
game
一
is
匹つまんで水
categorized
槽
as a
に入れてい
relaxation
る
game.
とほらお腹をすかした可愛いシーマンたちが我先にと群がりました。この虫かごがどこにあるかはここでは言えま
It
せん
always
が
comes with the
い
same
ずれ
face.
シーマンたち
And
が
also you have
教え
to,
てく
because
れる
it's
で
a
しょう。
kind of a simulation game, so you have to raise
キャ
this
タピ
fish,
ラ
and
は
this is
この
the,
葉っぱを食べて
how to
自
say,
分
worm
たちで繁殖してくれる
to
の
raise
で
the fish.
餌がなく
This
な
is
る心
grotesque
配
looking
は当
worm.
分なさそうです。
And you have to
お
also
っと
keep them to
この
say,
虫か
maintain
ご
the
に
fish
は
tank.
変なのがいるぞ。
So this is quite different
雲
from
です。
kind of, lovely creatures.
こ
Sort
の
of
雲に
simulation
はくれ
game.
ぐれも気をつけてください。餌となるガを食べてしまいますから
Well,
ね
not。for exactly Tamagotchi kind of. We
し
have,
かし
you
こ
know,
んな
this
ところに
virtual
雲がいるなんて奇
kind
妙
of
です
simulation. This is a
ね。
new type of that. And I'll show you some post-Tamagotchi kind of thing later.
さて、続いてこの水槽の木
So Machiko, there is no real game-like aspect anyway in this scene, is that right?
It's yeah, conversation. You enjoy conversation, and also you try to raise the fish.
Is there some kind of a time effect for neglect if for instance, you don't attend to it?
Yeah,
or
so
it will just die?
Yeah, they will die. Yeah, if you
So
don't
it's some kind
take
of
care of them.
dependency thing, like Tamaguchi?
Yeah.
喋りパートナーに
So this is a kind of post Tamaguchi.
赤外線通信を使って友達と名刺交換やしりとり遊びもできちゃう。
So you have this very small
ポケピとのコミュニケーションが楽しい新しい遊び。こんなの今までなかったかも。ちょっとへんてこなおしゃべりパートナーポケピは全部で5人の方々。甘えん坊の猫トロ。発明家の超高性能ロボ鈴木。愛の旅人ウサギジュン。格闘技好きのカエルリッキー。夢見る乙女犬ピエール。ポケステならいつでもどこでも一緒だよ。遊び方その1、一人遊び。ポケピとお話ししたり言葉を教えたり、澄ました顔して胸キュンなことを言い出すかも。遊び方その2、二人遊び。通信で友達のポケピと名刺交換。ポケピ同士がご挨拶。しりとり遊びもご機嫌。
That's right. But for example, the main users for this software is from 6-7-year-old to 30 years old. And in case of Ivo, as I said, so even old people. My mother loved Ivo, so she's very serious. So it's funny. So I left my robot dog with my nephew and niece, and my grandmother is almost fighting with them to take care of it. So the target, the market is totally different for these things.
I can understand the physical contract of the apartments. And also been there exactly what you're talking about, how small everything is and how you can't have pets. But what I can understand is culturally why they're looking to have a friend that's virtual versus going out and interacting with people. Basically, what is the market trying? What is the market like for it?
Yeah.
Why do people go to that?
Yeah.
Go to the
real people, for example. Yeah, that's a good question. That's the reason why I'm interested in this field. So even though I think I'm really running out of time, so it's okay. Yeah, but for example, so as I said, this is a communication tool, and it's the same with seamen. So you can imagine that those people who come back home late and have no one to talk to, they talk with this weird fish, for example, or these characters. Young people or say old people. And also the situation in Japan is, well, our lifestyle is also different. For example, here it's normal for people to get together, have parties during the weekend. It's not Japanese tradition. I live in the States when I was a high school student, so I really realized the difference. In Japan and also in Tokyo, it's such a big city, and the train, the last train leaves something like 11 o'clock or so if you live in the countryside, not very common in the suburb, something like that. It's difficult for people to get together so often. That's one reason. And then also, another thing that I want to say is, the reason why I brought this together with robot is internet and also mobile phone are very closely related to this robot culture. I'll show you something. Let's see, what should I do? I'm a little confused. Maybe I'll switch to this. Yeah, finish. Can I? Yes, switch to computer. So I'll show you one very interesting example. This is what is called postpet. And this the email software that the virtual pet, like here you see a turtle and a teddy bear and a cat. They deliver your email to your friends. And the idea is that you keep one of them and you see it on your desktop. And when you write an email to a friend, then you will see that your pet goes out from the door with the envelope in his hand. And so your friend, if your friend is using the same software at the time, then he or she will see the pet open the door and enters with an envelope in his hand. But then what happens is, because if you know your friend, of course, and pets know each other, so they want to play each other. So your pet will start playing with its friend. So it wouldn't come back for a while, which means that you don't use your email software for a while until it comes back. So it is not a very practical email software, but you can enjoy, say, giving food, say, arranging room, changing the interior, and so on. But then, because it's pet, it's animal, so it dies after a couple of months, and then you can go to visit the postpet park on the Sony Computer Network to see your former pet. But anyway, so this is not meant for the real, say, serious email software. And the pet doesn't react in such a way that you want to have as an agent. So the idea about agent and avatar that you have here is quite different in this case. And this is similar with Aibo and other robots. So what it means is the way Japanese people feel toward domestic animals or pets or robots. They don't have to be your slaves. They don't have to be your agent. We treat them on a rather equally basis. They can have their own will. For example, if you don't write email very often, your pet will get bored and it will start writing email on its own and leaves your room to deliver such email. So, what?
I think they are asking a question about this the strange behavior of this postman pet. So can you explain that a little bit? In which, so it sometimes doesn't. It just decides not to return, for instance, or starts writing email on its own.
Yes, yeah. So if you, okay, I can take some more time if you, right? So so if you write an email, it goes to deliver, but then it might start playing with the friends, or if your friend is not using the email software at the time, then it means for the poor postpet, the door is closed. So if you are using a cat as your postpet, because cat is impatient, it will come back soon. So you can start using your email software soon. But if you're using a turtle, for example, turtle is very patient, so it will wait in front of the closed door for a while.
It's like categorizing the kinds of email you're sending. It's like categorizing the kinds of emails that you're sending.
No, not
something
in,
is urgent or something
no. It's not meant as an efficient email software anyway.
It's a game out of
It's a game. Yes, it's a communication game. But also, it can be related to some other things like. This is what is called Keitai robot. Mobile robot. This is a robot for your mobile phone, you see?
You put the cell phone in there and it just walks around?
No, that's just a toy. But some people like to have their mobile phone on the robot. And they have the remote controller. So if your mobile phone starts ringing, you can push the button and the mobile phone will come to you.
Oh. So it transports the mobile phone.
It's just a holder?
It's just a holder, but it's robot.
How fast does it go?
I don't know. Yeah, it should hurry. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's very cheap. Several couples, tens of dollars, and something like that.
Machiko, I think that maybe it might make sense little by little to kind of finish the, let's say, this official official lecture. But if I'm sure that if some of you also have some questions or want to talk to Machiko about some of these things, so I think it's possible, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah. So I don't know how to finish it because anyway. So yeah, I hope that you got some idea about the Japanese robots and games and. Well, so one thing I wanted to say is just a difference in Japanese manner in the relationship between human beings and also virtual pets and robots, and that comes from the culture background. Very often, very closely connected to the religious background. That in Japanese culture, Japanese religion, there's no definite distinction between human beings and other animals, like that in Christianity have. And of course, in the West, such influence of religion is getting much thinner, but still for the culture it takes time to that it will be reflected to certain technology. And in Japan, so we didn't have any, say, psychological restriction to invent this kind of robots. And another thing is that we have the very famous robot named Astro Boy, which was also known in the States, and it made certain kind of basis of Japanese culture that of this idea of friendly robot. But of course, behind that success of the idea of friendly robot, I would say this Japanese culture background, religious background exists. And also about the communication. So now we have come to such a point, this robot culture and the love for machinery is combined with this mobile technology. And also the issue of communication as as you said, that rather than communicating with real people or trying to find some real people to communicate, they would communicate through technology or to technology. And I will just show you one image which is very significant here. This is the image for the postpaid that as I said. And now they have this mobile version of postpaid. This is the co-development between Sony and Casio, the company for the small calculator. So this is pocket postpaid. It's very small, but this size that you can use for the internet browser and for telecommunication as a mobile phone as well. And like this. It's very small, and you have this postpaid room there, and they are virtual pet. And what's this?
You connect that to like a cell
This is like what you have here, many, small, pager kind of thing with internet connection. And they issued several posters like, let's go out with this pocket postpaid to picnic. And go out with a real dog and the pocket postpaid. What interested me very much is this one. You see, a couple talking to each other through their pocket postpaid, sitting together. And it says, we will be together tomorrow as well. And they will be together as well, like this, back to back, communicating through pocket postpaid.
So, why do you think in Japan there's this dematerialization of communication instead of talking to each other? Is it just because in Japan you praise the convenience of technology, or there's some crisis in the psychological, cultural point of view?
I think it's both.
It's both.
It's both. And I think this is a kind of very interesting combination of the traditional problem we have in Japanese community in communicating. I think you've had much of that. When I was a child, it was inappropriate to talk to someone face to face with eye contact. We were sort of almost to avoid, eye contact, or, things like that. It's a very kind of big tradition. And when I teach in Japan, I don't have questions like this. It's very different. So many people find it much easier to communicate through technology. And I think that's the reason why mobile phone is kind of exploding. There in this Time magazine, it says that in the States, something like 14% of the high school students have a mobile phone, while in Japan it's 40%, more than 40%.
In Finland, I think about that 60%.
And the Finnish people are also rather shy, I would say. Yeah. And so I see young kids and students, even in the same room, they are kind of exchanging short emails through their mobile phones instead of just going there and talk to each other. They enjoy communication in a different way as face-to-face.
It's interface.
Interface, yeah.
It's truly an interface between two faces.
But this also comes with a connection with the word otaku. Maybe some of you might know this word otaku, nerd kind of word in Japanese. And this otaku means, came from the word that there are some young people immersed in technology start talking to other people. Otaku originally means you, but not in the very term you. It means originally your house. So avoiding directly saying you, some people starting at your house or at your place, meaning you. So this reflects kind of selecting the indirect manner of communication. And this is also one result of using this indirect communication. So I really thought this image amazing.
I think that probably for me, one of the most important things that, you have been talking in this your whole presentation is the fact that, I think you spoke about this already actually in the beginning as well, so that all these Japanese technologies that we are using, let's say in the States or in Europe or Finland, wherever, they are just all around. But I think it's really fascinating and interesting to have this look at the ways how the Japanese themselves not just use these technologies, but understand these technologies in terms of the Japanese culture. Now, when we see images from Japan, so I think we often think that, well, it's pretty much all the same, there's not that much difference, if you look at the images of the technological society there and here. But I think what your presentation has shown us is that there are still all these incredible cultural differences in these interpretations, in the interpretation of these technologies, differences which are sometimes very difficult to understand unless somebody makes them explicit like this.
Yeah, actually, I really wanted to ask you because based on my experience as I come to the States often and I lived here for a while when I was a high school student, but I really wanted to ask you some questions. For example, do you think if you have this kind of mobile tool, this session can be popular in the States, or you would rather speak face to face? So what do you think?
For a guess?
Yeah.
Well, basically it would be bought by 12 to 14-year-old, basically girls, mostly girls, but also kind of boys, that will basically use it during class to communicate with the school. Okay, and after school hours, they'll basically either interact by themselves or use internet if they're far apart in the city. But if you, but basically, it's I can't realize, I can't actually see any American kid that is not. Basically, what I'm saying is that the interaction between children, even since the age of 4 or 5, they're basically taught not to be shy and to interact freely. So when you say that a couple would basically talk on the same bench together instead of face to face through a machine, that is to overcome some kind of shyness that is embedded in the culture and their upraising. It's in their society. That's how you said you were taught that way, and it still exists today in traditional families. Versus in the inner city, there are non-traditional families or kids that these days just defy whatever their parents tell them. And this would basically be a nice gadget, but it would not be applicable over the age of 14, 15 because it would just, I can't explain sociologically why, but basically it would be seen as silly. Okay, it's a lot simpler to just pass a note. It's quicker, and the interactive through these toys on screen, okay, after a certain point it starts seeming gratuitous. It's basically not practical. And today kids, if they want an instant kind of reaction, instant kind of pleasure, they go and play a Nintendo. They play the PlayStation, they go to their PC or their Mac, and they play on screen, either versus a computer. I, for instance, play strategic games on the internet with friends in Germany, in Europe, in Israel, and anywhere in the world with friends that are 2 blocks away. But that's for me because I spend 3 hours on a game, and it's just like moving plastic soldiers around a screen, except for the activity. But when you're talking about just sending letter emails, as I said, it would stop after a certain age.
I kind of agree with what you said before, but I think to an extent we are leaning towards using that kind of device to communicate, even though we might not be doing it back-to-back in the same room, but even on the same campus or in another room, we might tend to do that because right now with the usage of PDAs and like portable electronic devices where you can actually just send emails quickly and not have to face someone face to face because you're busy at that moment or something. I think for that reason it'll become popular if it gets brought into the U.S. and it's going to be convenient for people to talk to each other, even if they're same family or whatever. But if they're separated by like some sort of a distance, like even by a couple of streets, they don't have to go run down and look for them. So I see that as being a factor in making it popular. But in terms of you're saying keeping it in the same room or back to back, that might be a little harder, just because in this society it's more about it's more direct communication. So that might make it less popular if you want to treat it with that respect.
Another thing that I missed to say is in Japan, they say regarding this attitude toward communication, telecommunication, and also that sort of, say, virtual robots, virtual pets kind of technology. Now, girls' culture and boys' culture are different, of course. I mean, and also it's really getting clear that girls are better users of telecommunication technology as gadgets like this. They have much more playful attitude. And I'll just show you some images. While girls, so basically, most of the users of postpaid and these pocket postpaids are girls, and also mobile phones. And they use mobile phones to get the information from the internet using this iMode technology, which is developed in Japan. While boys who love technology, well, not all of them, but might be doing something else. See, so here, these are the images that I took from the kind of hobby magazine I bought in my neighborhood in a convenience shop, which means that so this magazine should be very popular, that sells well. And I took these pet robots images from this magazine, but you will also see what else they have. Of course, these kind of models, Gundams and others, these gadgets. So people make these figures, models. But in the same magazine, you find these figures, those plastic figures that they make for boys. And it be, if you have, any of you have seen this film, Evangelion, so you'll be surprised that this image, this very kind of almost pornographic posture, is modeled after the girl character from Evangelion, which is, as a character, totally different. But so she is turned into such a way. So, and what's this? Yeah, even this sort of. So, those otaku, those kind of communication nerd people in Japan, young people generation, and the girls start these telecommunication tools and enjoy communicating among each other, while boys might be enjoying this kind of thing, which can be, I'm sort of confused, but I'm curious. So there's a lot of the gender issue also included.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those for sale. Those dolls, they come in plastic and they're not painted.
Yeah.
So I think the boys buy it and bring it home and they paint it and make it look like that. And
but also the absence of gender and also kind of, how to say, historical aspect of social aspect is, look at this, it's also from the same magazine. So, or like this. Maybe it's the same in the States, I don't know, but so these are connected, the robots and figures and sort of gender, or absence of gender issue. And this forms the boys' culture. While when it comes to robots, I mean, there are many girls who love Aibo and those pet robots. And so now it's difficult to say. Many people think that in Japan that the boys love technology, girls not. But when last year at media art museum named Intercommunication Center, for which I'm involved in, organized first kind of robot art and robot technology exhibition, I was surprised to see that half of the audience were girls and women, including old women even. So the culture is changing. Okay, maybe so.
No. That massaging robot probably then really has a chance in that culture. So maybe it will be the best-selling product for the Christmas market this year.
But the problem is that I don't know anything practical besides massaging that we can say expect for those robots.
But anyway, so maybe I think it's time.
Yeah, I think it's already.
So thank you, Machiko, very much.
Oh, thank you for coming.
I'm also sure that if you have some questions or if you want to contact Machiko about these things, so why don't you just talk to Machiko? I don't know how many you have. This is one of my graduate student,
Oh,
Colin
hello.
Chan.
Hi.
And I heard that you are very much interested in this field, so you definitely have to.
I'm not sure if you recall, I got in touch with you last December as a Bill Simi student, and I was in Japan.
So you were,
that was
yeah,
fun.
sorry. So
That's okay, it's okay.
I sent an email back
Yeah,
to you
that's fine,
later.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
I wasn't there, I guess, at the time.
Yeah,
so.
it's okay. I actually went to the ICC at
yes.
that time, and I had a great time. I looked at it.
That's
everything
good.
there. But Bill told me that unfortunately they're taking it down or they're closing it. Or something like
Yeah, at least for a while, for half a year.
Okay, but they're going to bring it back up.
Yes, in a smaller space, and unfortunately. Yeah, the crash of the economy has been influencing